Mr. Woods, what do you think are the three most common misconceptions about libertarianism?
Oh gosh, three.
Top three, ones you encounter the most.
Libertarians just care about the rich. Libertarians are moral degenerates. I know some moral degenerates who are libertarians. I know some who aren't. And what was the third one? I think those two. I mean, I can't. Whatever the third one is, it is a distant third. Those are the two I come across most often. But maybe they're selfish, right? I mean, all we care about is me and my rights and my property, and get off my lawn and that sort of thing. That's the impression people have. But needless to say, these are all false. But
so, what would you say to people who charge libertarians with being corporate apologists or only for corporations?
Well, if we were so pro-corporation, how come they don't donate to us, is my usual answer. And I guess, I was just reading today, as a matter of fact, that in Michigan, there are some business leaders who are organizing to raise funds against Justin Amash, specifically because they're upset about the government shutdown. Now, according to progressives, businesses hate government, and libertarians love businesses, and businesses love libertarians. The world is a little bit more complicated than that, it turns out. It's more complicated than the progressive comic book, because you can see with your own eyes that obviously something else is going on here. Now, there are plenty of businesses that would rather see the whole world burn to the ground than not have their special government privilege of one kind or another. We are equal opportunity crusaders for justice, in that we are opposed to, basically what we favor is what Andrew Jackson used to call equal rights. And when Andrew Jackson talked about equal rights, yes, I know Andrew Jackson was bad on the Indians. I'm not saying we look up to Andrew Jackson, so in case anybody wants to be a stickler. My point is that his slogan was equal rights, and what he meant by that was not that, well, this disadvantaged group or this privileged group should get this or that advantage. His argument was that nobody should get anything from the government. Nobody, because everything that comes from the government is taken from somebody else, and we don't want to go down that road. That's our view. So I don't care if you're AIG, I don't care who you are, you're not getting any special privilege from us, and that's why big business, some big business people are on board for that, but a lot more of them would rather think that, well, in a pinch, I'd like to get a special emergency program, or in a pinch, I'd really rather be able to get on the phone and talk to somebody in Washington, and so maybe they don't want to walk without their crutches.
So, since you're a historian, what would you say that the most egregious historical event or action done by a government proves that libertarianism and a mistrust for government is important?
Well, I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, really, because there are so many horrifying things that governments have done. The problem is if I pick the worst one, then people will come back and say, well, we know that it's bad for governments to be that powerful. Sure, it's bad when they try to commit genocide. We all admit that. So that's why we should try to limit their genocide powers. So I think I should focus instead on one that maybe is a little bit more modest, but where there are a lot of misconceptions about it. And so just thinking about it sort of off the top of my head, I would say the way people understand the Great Depression is a big problem. Because there, as I say, everybody knows you shouldn't have the Holocaust, the murder of the Ukrainians, the murder of the Armenians. Like, everybody knows all that. But they don't know something like this, which is it doesn't involve the deaths of people, because everybody's against government killing people for the most part. They'll make a lot of exceptions on war and this and that. But they're all taught to believe that, well, the free market just goes kablooey once in a while for no good reason. And thankfully, we didn't listen to the stupid libertarians who would have shackled us and taken away our ability to fix these situations. And, I've tried to do in some of my own, like my politically incorrect guide to American history, for example, try to talk about what really happened in the Depression. This was not the economy just spontaneously collapsing. There was something called the Federal Reserve in the 1920s that was ginning up the economy in an unhealthy way. And then which economic downturn in all of American history lasts the longest? It's the one where government for the first time ever says, we're going to try to fix this. Now, that could just be a crazy coincidence, but I don't really believe in crazy coincidences.
So going with the Federal Reserve, Rand Paul is proposing to hold up the nomination for the new Federal Reserve Chairman, Janet Yellen, and he wants an audit the Reserve, the Federal Reserve, though. Do you think it's going to happen, one, and two, do you think that anything will come of that, say, if the Federal Reserve is audited?
I don't know. I mean, it seems to me there isn't. I don't imagine Obama signing that, and I don't think there's enough power to override a veto. So I don't think that would happen. But I'm not. I haven't looked at it enough. But a friend of mine who has thinks that the proposed audit is not thorough enough. So I don't know that it would uncover what needs to be uncovered. Also, it's not that we're trying to uncover whether Ben Bernanke is secretly printing up money and going on vacation to the Bahamas with it. It's not that. It's a lot of questions like about the financial crisis. Like on what basis did they make the decisions that they made? How did they determine that this firm was solvent but just illiquid, so it just needs an infusion of cash and then it'll be okay? Like, on what basis did they decide these things? We don't really know. And also, I asked Ron Paul this once. I just said, and I don't think he minds that answer being given. I said, what do you expect to find if you were to have a full-fledged audit? What do you think is going on there? And of course, he wants to know a lot about what's going on with the Fed, central banks around the world, and governments around the world. But he said, it would not surprise me to find that the Fed has some kind of role in foreign policy making. One way or another. I mean, if you've got the CIA involved in undermining a regime here and there, is it really completely out of the realm of possibility that the Fed, using its monetary powers, is in some way greasing the skids for these activities? Maybe so. And that, there's nothing crazy about that prospect.
No,
I mean,
it
seems
reasonable.
right. Exactly. What is crazy are the policies these people pursue. But, so maybe that.
Okay. So my last question for you is, what do you think is the best way to go about bringing a libertarian society or creating a libertarian society?
Well, here I tend to take the let 100 flowers bloom philosophy. People surprise me constantly with brilliant ideas that I would never have thought of. So let people pursue their brilliant ideas. So, for example, I think the Free State Project's a neat idea. I think Bitcoin's a neat idea. I think people who are involved in jury nullification. Well, seasteading is it's tricky. And in fact, I think some of the people involved in that have abandoned that project. But the point is there are just so many different possibilities. So pursue the thing that you feel like you have a special passion for, a special skill with. But I tend to not be of the opinion that we should say, everybody should not do this. No, I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said. I mean, like, for example, politics. I understand people who don't want to be involved in politics. I totally understand that. You don't have to be involved in it. My concern, though, is that if we have nothing to do with politics, then we disappear because most people don't go to university lectures and political philosophy seminars. Where do they get their political philosophy, such as it is? From elections and from reports about elections. Mm-hmm. And if we're not part of that, then we don't exist. Or if we are part of it and 10 people vote for us, then we're weirdos. And most people want to feel like they're part of like the mainstream. And maybe they'll be part of something that gets 15 or 20% of the vote. But if it gets so few that we barely register, most people won't be brave enough to come out and join us, and I want them to feel brave enough to do that.
I completely agree. Well, thank you very much. And can you tell everybody where they can find you, what you're working on?
Yeah, well, tomwoods.com is my main site, and now I have a weekday podcast, which I do for free for all you for you folks to listen to during your commute, if you have a short commute. It's only a 30-minute show. But Monday through Friday, so that you get to that at tomwoodsradio.com. And I'm spending my time basically divided between two projects. Insanely recording videos for Ron Paul's homeschool project. So I have a page on that, ronpaulhomeschool.com, so that you can homeschool your kids and they'll at least sort of hear about the liberty message and some of our scholars. They'll at least get both sides of the story, which they typically don't. And then my other project is my own site, kind of like for adult enrichment, for adults who feel like, I didn't get the economics that I should have gotten. I didn't get the nobody taught me the history that I'm learning now when I was in school. So that's my site, libertyclassroom.com, where if you feel like I didn't get the real stuff, it's never too late. Go to libertyclassroom.com and you'll get it. So that's what I'm working on.
All right, fantastic. Well, it was wonderful meeting you, Tom. And thank you everybody for watching.